I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here. I'm going to say that the truth is that, I like the Outlaws for their, basically their history too. And I know I don't want to say a couple things on here too, but just some basics I'll give you. It's not that I know Outlaws. I don't know Outlaws, but it's in the symbology too. That skull, the Tokenhof. I know that was taken from the movie, The Wild One. Basically, that's from what I got from the history. But it goes back farther than that. It's always been a symbol of resistance against unjust authority. And one of the biggest symbols, one of the ones you can really think of, going all the way back. We also know that the Florida Outlaws is the most dominant club. But I could tell you that it's not easy to get in any of these clubs. That's why I'm not in one. I just ride. I just do my own thing. But I don't have the commitment to do that. I like riding, and I'm committed to what I'm committed to, but I'm not committed to a club. I'm an independent rider. But I'm in one thing that's kind of like a social group, I guess you would call that. But this skull has, I don't know if they agree with this or not, but this is why I like them, because I always associate it with the Tokenhof from the Germans, who were anti-communist. Here, this is not World War II. This is World War One. And you see the skull right here, right? That's the Tokenhof. And they also had the Swaz. The Swaz was way before World War II. Actually going all the way back to Bronze Age Germany. And before that, it was into Romans and ancient Greeks, which all the World War II leadership in Germany all knew the history of what was going on. But, today everybody's brainwashed about all this stuff. And, this is one of the things that people are brainwashed even about, the outlaw symbology. And I'm not speaking for them because I don't even know any of them, but I'm just saying this is how I'm looking at it. My personal opinion is that it is associated, and whether they think this or not publicly or they want to acknowledge this, because, this is kind of a political minefield saying this stuff. I mean, they wouldn't want to say this officially, I guess, but, here's the reality of it. That skull, it's not just some Hollywood movie thing. It's way back. And it has been associated with the Freikorps, right? They were actually, the German Freikorps were around even before 1848. And in 1848, the Freikorps, though, were mainly responsible for kicking out the communists in Germany in particular. And there was like all these communist revolutions going on in Europe in 1848, right? And that was when Karl Marx, Mordecai Levy, right, wrote the Communist Manifesto, the 10 planks, and all that wonderful stuff. And you know what it led to, right? So, this undok, this means and yet we fight on. We lost, there's a couple of us left, we're not going to quit. That's what that means. This is the Tokenhof, right? And it had the swaz too, and the bolts, blah, blah, blah. So I believe in these symbols. I think they're holy symbols, especially, the materials. You got to make, sometimes, the white ash is, certain trees have more power when you make these, like with the runes and stuff. I don't even know what the biker clubs know. I know some of the guys in there, they know, because I have talked to people that weren't, they're kind of new outlaws and stuff. They were support clubs. And I know some people know a lot of stuff, and some people don't know anything. But it's not like a requirement to join a club that you got to know all this history shit. But here again, here's a German soldier. This is a World War I guy, And, he's got the bigger, the different style hom. And, he's got the skull on it. This is really what it's coming from. It's like a resistance against communism. So when I look at an outlaw and I see their patch, in my mind, I see them as a guy that is against communism, totalitarianism. That's what it means. Of course, the cops can't figure that out. Of course, they're working for the freaking money, government. Which I told you before in another video. I gave you that example about the sales tax. When did the sales tax freaking for all states start coming about? During the Great Depression. Why did it come about? Because the states were losing revenue because everybody was going broke and nobody had no money. So what did they do? 26 out of 48 states taxed their citizens. I don't know how they got that passed because, the politicians are all bought too. And then they squeezed them even more, even though the citizens were dirt broke. And, who's paying all the salaries of the politicians and the cops? The taxes. So, I mean, this is like, you know what I mean? It's not like there's this clear line of definition between what's right and wrong, but 100% all the way, or who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. But this symbol, the skull, is actually a very righteous symbol. Now, the 48ers. You remember that term, 1848, right? That was the Communist Revolutions. Karl Marx, right? Mordecai Levy in Europe, right? The German Freikorps, which has existed before 1848, was largely responsible for, getting the 48ers kicked out of Germany. Well, guess what? They came to the United States. If you look up in the history books about the 48ers, but they don't elaborate where the connection is to 1848 communist revolutions. They just say that they fled Europe. 1848ers, the 48ers, they were the main ones that formed, at the time, the Radical Republican Party with Abe Lincoln in 1854. And the Confederates fought that. They're fighting totalitarians. But today, the average Southerner doesn't get the World War II stuff. They get the part for the 1861, 1865, but they don't get the World War II stuff. So, this was another thing. I want to point this out because, when you're looking at that skull, at least in my opinion, I'm not saying this is like the Outlaws MC's opinion, but, I mean, everybody, who the hell knows what, individuals might think one thing, individuals might think, it's no, I'm not saying what, but it's like, to me, that symbol has power. That's why I like it, it's like righteous power, in other words. It's an anti-communist symbol. And you're an outlaw when you are going against the freaking totalitarian dictators. Now, this is one guy that knew what really happened in World War II was General George Smith Patton, who had a lot of Confederate ancestors, by the way. I think I could say up here someplace where they were. He had a load of them, man. He was a hardcore guy, So I don't know if I could find it again, but I just kind of looked at this real quick. But he does have a lot of Confederate ancestors. I could say that. So, sometimes the Southerners. Yeah, here it is. He had Confederate colonels Waller Tazewell Patton, 7th Virginia, General George Smith Patton, 23rd Virginia, Isaac Williams Patton, 21st Louisiana, John Mercer Patton, 21st Virginia, and his stepfather was George U. Smith, Colonel 25th Virginia. So he was warning, and that guy died of wounds received at the Third Battle of Winchester in 1864. So he was warning all this stuff before he was assassinated. And I can't put this on YouTube, but I'll just give you the one part about who whacked him, basically, or made him unalive, or whatever you got to say. Where is it again, man? This is what happens when freaking. I'm just throwing this out here fast as I can because I always want to get the information out. I don't want to make a long video. Target Patton, Journal Reports Patton. 1979, the OSS agent. OSS was the predecessor for the CIA, right? Major Douglas Bazata asserted that he had been part of a hit team that was tasked to assassinate General Patton. He fired a low-velocity projectile in the back of General's neck in order to snap and cause a paralysis. Now, the guy, about the truck accident, right, with Patton? The guy that took the truck that hit General Patton's car? That guy never even got charged. Nothing happened to him. It was like, okay, you cut off a general and you killed him almost. Yeah, it's all right, no charges. And there's no records of him even requisitioning his vehicle. There's supposed to be 2 other people with him, too. But they booked before the other guys, the investigators got there. So nothing happened with that, Then this guy, when Patton failed to die and was showing signs of recovery, he was murdered by the hospital by Soviet NKVD agents. That's again at Bazata swore that Wild Bill Donovan, the head of the Officers Secret Service, OSS, paid him $10,000 way back then in 1945, plus another $800 expenses for his role in Patton's death. Now, the OSS is the predecessor for the CIA. So, Gloria Steinem with the women's lib, CIA. Well, the OSS, I don't want to say, but you might kind of figure it out a little bit. The OSS was very instrumental in making sure that all the Eastern European nations fell to communism. You know that, including Mao Zedong, taking over. So you know what's going on here. So when I look at this thing with, the Outlaws, I see this. Maybe they don't see it, but I see that. That's what I see, okay? So I'm like, you're the good guys, man. You're like the German hordes of freaking freedom fighters and stuff. That's what I look at you like. So, it's a symbology, man. And I think some guys in there know that stuff. Like, I mean, you got the Hessians MC. They're a little more, they're out in California. They're a little more, direct with. I like the German stuff. I mean, that's just me. Confederate German, blah, blah, blah. You can't put that on this wonderful platform. But, this is why, the red eyes are looking at you, man. Anyway, so that's just my thing. It's not like a cheerleader thing or anything like that. I'm not. It's like some people like a group because they're cheerleaders for them. But I kind of look at this symbol, and to me it means. I look at the German side of it, the righteous German side of it, the Freikorps, right? Ondok, fighting on against the communists. Even though we're outnumbered, there's still a few of us left. I know it's all just been supposed to, and that's why the cops call them gangs, because the cops don't even realize they're working for the wrong people. They don't realize it. They do not realize it. They have no clue. But this is why I'm putting this video out, because a little bit of education sometimes goes a long way, and I could dot all the I's and cross the T's and get into a lot of things, but they won't allow it on this platform. So just, support your local outlaws. Okay, over.